Welcome to Paranormal Passion, the podcast that intertwines the eerie with the erotic. Join your hosts, Sarah and Jay, as they take you on a thrilling journey through spooky short stories that will give you chills and tantalize your senses. Each episode delves into the world of the supernatural through tales that explore the passion lurking just beyond the veil of the ordinary. Whether it's seductive specters or cryptid caresses, Paranormal Passion promises a delightful mix of spine-tingling suspense and sultry storytelling. Tune in, turn off the lights, and prepare for an unforgettable experience that will leave you breathless and wanting more. Please keep in mind that Paranormal Passion is intended for adult audiences, as it can get quite spicy. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to Paranormal Passion. It's our pleasure to have you join us for another night of whispered secrets and deliciously unsettling tales, where the line between desire and danger blurs, and tonight's story, it purrs with temptation. They say cats choose their owners. But what if their choice is something more? Something primal, something inescapable. Our tale tonight follows Barbara, a woman drawn to the enigmatic pull of her feline companions, only to discover that some appetites can't be tamed, and some choices were never hers to make. Tell me, dear listener, have you ever woken in the dead of night to find a pair of glowing eyes watching you from the darkness? What if they weren't just watching, but waiting? Turn down the lights, let the shadows stretch long, and listen closely, because when it begins, it may already be too late to resist the pull of the midnight chorus. My name is Barbara. Barb to my friends, if I had any friends. And those fictitious friends might call me a cat lady. I've always been drawn to the enigmatic allure of cats. Their independence, their sinuous grace, and regal manner held a mystique that I was both envious of and entranced by. Over the years, my secluded Victorian house, which was nestled deep in the woods off of a dead-end lane, had become a sanctuary for strays. Like attracts like, I suppose. I was always a bit of a loner, choosing to lose myself in novels rather than suffer through monotonous conversation and fake smiles. Whiskers, a ginger tabby with fur like spun gold, was the first. He'd appeared on my porch during a torrential downpour, a shivering, bedraggled mess. Working from home allowed me plenty of time to nurse the poor wretch back to health. I'd taken him in, offered him warmth and food, and he'd never left my side. Others followed Whiskers, sleek black cats with emerald eyes, fluffy Persians with haughty airs, and playful kittens tumbling over one another. My once lonesome home hummed with their purrs, their soft footfalls a constant and comforting presence. Who needs to go out and make friends when you've got plenty at home? I often found myself lost in one of my favorite romance novels, listlessly stroking their soft fur. No, not their soft fur, his soft fur. It was only ever Whiskers that lay next to me when I picked up one of my spicy favorites. The sensation was almost sensual against my skin as I devoured my books. His amber eyes would watch me intently, intellectually, flicking to my chest every time my breath hitched as I became enthralled in a particularly intense moment. Living in the middle of nowhere isn't as quiet as one might think. The buzzing of cicadas and birdsong fills my days. Owls, coyotes, and other creatures of the night sing their songs after dark. And of course, this is when my feline friends are most active. But tonight, the silence was as heavy as a blanket. The usual cacophony of meows, the playful chases through the hallways, were absent. Only my loyal Whiskers remained, perched rigidly by the heavy oaken front door, his gaze fixed on the sliver of moonlight spilling beneath it. His tail lashed back and forth, a sign of agitation I'd rarely seen. The way his muscles rippled beneath his fur as he moved sent a strange shiver through me. "What is it, Whiskers?" I whispered, another shiver tracing its way down my spine. He didn't respond, his amber eyes unwavering. Then I heard it. A low, mournful yowl echoing from the depths of the woods. It was a sound unlike any I'd heard before, laced with a primal urgency that sent chills down my arms. Another yowl joined it, then another, escalating into a chorus that seemed to vibrate through the very foundations of my house. I cautiously approached the window, drawing back the heavy velvet curtain just enough to peer outside. The sight that greeted me stole my breath. Cats everywhere. Not just a few, but hundreds, perhaps even thousands. They filled the clearing surrounding my house. They sat motionless in the pale moonlight, their eyes glowing like embers in the darkness, all fixed on my home. Their combined yowls formed a chilling symphony, a guttural chant that resonated deep within my chest and filled me with a feeling of anxiety. Or was it anticipation? The sheer number of them, their sleek bodies pressed close together, created a disturbing, almost erotic tableau. A knot coiled in my stomach as the air crackled with unseen energy. The ancient grandfather clock in the hallway began to chime, each clang echoing through the oppressive silence within the house. Midnight. Behind me, I heard the soft patting of paws. I turned slowly, my heart pounding against my ribs. Whiskers had risen, his back arched in an unnatural curve, his amber eyes blazing like the smoldering embers of a dying fire. The way he stretched, his body undulating in a sinuous motion, sent another shiver through me, this one tinged with a strange heat. "Whiskers?" I whispered, taking a hesitant step back. He turned his head, his gaze locking onto mine. The way he stared at me with those smoldering amber eyes, it felt like pity. The temperature in the room seemed to plummet. From the shadows, the other cats emerged, their eyes glowing with the same unsettling luminescence. They moved with a silent, predatory grace, circling me with unnerving precision. Their tails twitched in perfect unison, a macabre metronome keeping time with the chanting outside. The close proximity of their bodies, the musky, earthy scent of their fur, a primal aroma that stirred something deep within me. It was intoxicating. "What's happening?" Panic gripped me. The chanting outside intensified, the sound becoming a physical pressure against my skull. It wasn't just sound anymore. It was a presence, a palpable force that invaded my mind, whispering dark promises and ancient secrets. My head throbbed. The walls seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the chant. The lights flickered, then went out. plunging the room into darkness. I stumbled back, my heart racing. Only the glow of the cat's eyes remained, piercing the gloom. I tripped on one of their lithe bodies, whimpering as I hit the hardwood floor. The sound of claws scraping against the wooden floorboards surrounded me, growing closer and closer. My breath caught in my throat. Then I felt them. They rubbed up against me. Their soft fur brushing against my skin was soothing at first, but quickly became incessant, more frantic, as they pressed hard against my body. They were scenting me, their tiny bodies brushing against every inch. And then there were claws. They began pricking my skin, drawing tiny droplets of blood. I could feel their warm breath on my face. The sensation was overwhelming, a confusing mix of fear and a strange, unwanted arousal. "Whiskers!" I screamed for Whiskers as blood trickled down my arms and legs, but my voice was swallowed by the deafening chorus outside. A sudden gust of icy wind swept through the room, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. The heavy front door creaked open, revealing the moonlit clearing beyond. The cats parted like a living tide, forming a pathway. Frozen with terror, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, as a figure stepped into the moonlit doorway. The figure was tall, very tall. I caught glimpses of a masculine build beneath the shroud of shadows. It moved with an otherworldly grace as it stalked towards me. Its eyes burned with an intense but somehow familiar amber light, brighter than any of the other cats, piercing the darkness like twin embers. Then it spoke. But the voice, when it came, wasn't spoken aloud, rather carved directly into my mind, a growling whisper that resonated deep within my soul, conveying undeniable authority.
"You offered sanctuary. You invited us in. Now you belong to us."
The voice held a seductive quality, a promise of dark and twisted pleasures. "No!" I gasped, crawling backward in a futile attempt to escape. "I only wanted to help." The figure knelt before me, its face inches from mine. Its features were feline, but definitely male. Long ginger hair framed sharp cheekbones and a predatory jaw. A devious smile stretched across his feline lips, revealing pointed teeth. He knew exactly what realization my brain was about to come to. The realization of what? Who was staring down at me? Once it hit me, the thought sent a wave of icy terror through me, mixed with an unsettling fascination. I stared into those molten amber eyes. Whiskers. This was my loyal companion, my Whiskers. And he would have been quite handsome if I weren't so utterly terrified. Whiskers' gaze fell to my lips. It lingered there, the hungry look in his eyes sending a confusing shiver of anticipation through me. The hair on the back of my neck rose. This cannot be happening.
"Help you did."
The voice echoed in my mind, laced with chilling amusement.
"But every kindness has a price, and yours is submission."
The cats surged forward, their bodies pressing against me, their claws tearing my clothes to shreds, leaving me completely bare against their hot breath on my skin. My breasts felt the soft brush of fur, then the shock of teeth grazing my nipples. The sensation was intense and overwhelming, a chaotic blend of pain and a disturbing primal pleasure. I thrashed and screamed, in both pleasure and pain, but there were too many. They were all over me. Claws, teeth, soft fur on tender parts of my body. Their weight crushed me, the feeling of their increasingly blood-soaked fur against my naked skin was both repulsive and strangely arousing. My eyes rolled into the back of my head, but I tried to keep my focus and search for something, for anything to bring an end to this overwhelming range of sensations and emotions rocking through me. I was reaching a peak of what I had no idea. Was I going to die or come? Suddenly, my eyes connected with something through the chaos. Burning amber eyes. Whisker's eyes, focused on mine in a predatory gleam, his mouth curved into a wicked smile. Had he been watching the whole time? I reached a climax and cried out in pain and ecstasy. Those eyes were the last thing I saw before the world went black. I awoke not in my bed or on the floor of my home, but in the clearing outside. I was surrounded by the endless sea of cats, females from their scent. Their scent? I tried to shake the thought from my mind, but I couldn't move. My limbs were stiff and unresponsive. I tried to speak, but no sound escaped my throat. My body was no longer my own. The memory of the voice echoed in my mind.
Submission.
I caught my reflection in a nearby puddle. Predatory green eyes stared back. My human face was gone, replaced by a feline muzzle covered in short, gray fur. My hands were now paws, tipped with sharp claws. Something moved in my periphery, something golden. Slinking up beside me, golden fur rubbing against dull gray. Our eyes met. The amber orbs that stared back at me were ravenous and wanting, and I could do nothing to stop him from taking what he wanted. The word echoed again, but not a memory. This time it was a command.
Submit.
I was one of them, one of his. As the moon rose high in the sky, I joined the chorus, my voice now a haunting meow, rising with theirs, calling out to the next unsuspecting female who might offer shelter to him. The next victim to fall prey to his ancient, insatiable lust. Thank you for joining us on this spine-tingling episode of Paranormal Passion. We hope you enjoyed our blend of eerie tales with tantalizing twists, and that we left you longing for more. Please remember that all stories you've heard are written exclusively by Sarah, crafted to take you on a thrilling journey into the unknown. And if you like what we're doing here, please feel free to drop us a 5-star review and give us a follow. Please note that these stories are not to be republished or used elsewhere without written consent from the Paranormal Passion team.